Could a radio leak be the beginning of the end for a historic team like Ferrari? The two red cars did not cross the checkered flag. Lewis Hamilton, newly arrived in Maranello with the hope of building a final legacy, could not complete even half of the route. Charles Leclerc, who has become a symbol of the house, was also left out. Two abandonments, two frustrations, two emotional explosions that were amplified by media coverage and the subsequent leak of their internal communications. Ferrari wasn't just defeated on the track, she was exposed for her own mistakes. The blow did not take long to escalate to the team's internal politics. What in other teams could have been treated with a media containment strategy, in Ferrari became a forest fire fueled by its own president. John Elkann, in an unusually crude and blunt tone, placed the blame squarely on his pilots before the media. The phrase, "they should concentrate more on driving and talk less," resonated strongly not only in Italy but throughout the paddock. The message was clear. From the top of the organization, the fingers were not pointing at the wall, nor at technical development, nor at the strategists. They targeted those wearing the helmet. It was a public sentence. And that sentence was interpreted by many as a way of washing their hands. As if the chaos experienced at Interlagos was not the reflection of a divided team, but only the consequence of the lack of execution of two champions. But those who follow F1 closely know that it's not just about what is said. It's about what is revealed. And what Elkann hinted at was that there is a breach of trust. A disconnection between pilots and management leadership that can have devastating consequences. The pressure that was already enormous has transformed into something even more toxic. Ferrari is now 36 points behind Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, and just 4 points ahead of Red Bull. With 3 Grand Prix remaining, Las Vegas, Qatar and Abu Dhabi, every weekend is a battle of survival. Not only in sports but institutionally. Ferrari started the year with an epic narrative. The arrival of Lewis Hamilton was sold as a rebirth, a historic alliance between the most successful driver and the most iconic team. Expectations weren't just high, they were absolute. Fighting for the championship was not a desire, it was an obligation. But that story of redemption has mutated into a plot of disenchantment. And what happened in Brazil was the climax of a script that, for now, looks more like a tragedy than an epic. Because in Formula One, mistakes are expensive. But what truly destroys a team is when those mistakes become public, when the wounds open before everyone's eyes and there is no structure to close them. What Ferrari showed at Interlagos was not just poor performance. It was a crisis of leadership, communication, and identity. And the most worrying thing is that this might not have been an end, but a beginning. The beginning of a much darker narrative, if corrective decisions are not made urgently. Brazil, the iconic Interlagos track, has historically been a circuit where emotions overflow, where legends are forged and also where teams are exposed to the limit. But in 2025, for Ferrari, this circuit was not a battlefield. It was a field of execution. What happened that weekend was not a simple operational error. It was a chain of strategic, technical, and emotional failures that culminated in the absolute collapse of a structure that already seemed unstable. Ferrari did not lose a race. He lost credibility. He lost authority. And perhaps most seriously, he lost control of his own narrative. From the first day of activity, the signs were alarming. In sprint qualifying, a format that usually shows the car's solidity under pressure, both Ferrari drivers showed symptoms of disorientation. Hamilton was eliminated in SQ2, finishing in a discouraging 11th place. Leclerc barely managed to advance to SQ3, securing a mediocre position in 8th place. For a team that should be competing for pole positions, these results already predicted an uphill weekend. But the problem was not only the result itself, it was the way it was reached. The driver spoke of an unpredictable car, of optimistic simulations, and of strategic decisions disconnected from reality on the track. Saturday's main qualifying seemed to offer some respite. Leclerc achieved a 3rd starting position, a position from which it was still possible to fight for the podium. Hamilton, in contrast, fell again in Q2 and would start from 13th place. But that little light of hope would go out as quickly as it came on. Because in Formula One, races are not won on Saturday, they are lost on Sunday. And that's exactly what happened. Sunday at Interlagos began with tension. The Ferrari paddock was unusually quiet. The engineers spoke in low voices. The faces were serious. It wasn't just the fear of the result. It was the feeling that something serious could happen. And it happened. As soon as the race began, Leclerc and Hamilton found themselves involved in a technical and operational chaos that would end with both of them out of action. The details are important. Hamilton's abandonment was not due to an accident, but rather due to a technical failure that exposed vulnerabilities in the SF25. A failure that, for a team like Ferrari, is simply not acceptable at this stage of the championship. Leclerc, for his part, was left out after an avoidable incident, in a start where chaos was greater than clarity. And that's where the real nightmare began: the radio messages, altered voices, claims in real time, accumulated frustrations that exploded like an emotional bomb in front of millions of viewers. The pilots were no longer holding back. And what was previously leaked at the end of the day now came out live without censorship. "How can this happen again?" one shouted. "We have no rhythm, we have no strategy, we have no direction," said another. The wall, unable to respond clearly, simply opted for silence. What followed was more than a defeat. It was an emotional disintegration in slow motion. From the garages, from the press comments, from Leclerc and Hamilton's own body language when they got out of the car. What was perceived was not just frustration. It was disappointment. It was helplessness. It was perhaps the first hint of a breakup. And the press did not take long to echo it. Headlines such as "Ferrari bleeds to death," "Hamilton trapped in a red nightmare," "Leclerc on the brink of collapse" flooded the media the next day. Because beyond what happened on the track, what truly impacted was the loss of public trust. Ferrari is no longer just being questioned by fans. It is being questioned from within. From their pilots, from their radios, from their decisions. Interlagos made it clear that Ferrari does not have a specific problem. You have a systemic crisis. A structure that is not aligned with your ambitions. A car that does not fulfill what it promises. A team that seems not to listen to its drivers. And a leadership that, instead of containing, puts even more pressure from the top. And now, with only 3 grand prizes left to compete, the real challenge is not in the stopwatch. He's in the locker room. Because rebuilding the morale of 2 champions who feel betrayed by their own team is not a matter of time. It is a matter of culture. Leclerc's words were more than critical. They were a direct accusation. "We have lost all competitiveness. You just had to listen to me." A phrase that, isolated, would already be serious. But in the context of Ferrari, a team with a history of strategic errors and internal tensions, it was pure dynamite. In another audio, Leclerc warned, "We are going to lose this race with these decisions." It was not an expression of passing anger. It was confirmation that the pilot no longer believed in his team's judgment. Lewis Hamilton had an equally bitter experience in that same race. The 7-time world champion, who came to Ferrari with the mission of leading a new era, was trapped in the peloton, without rhythm and without direction. "I'm a duck sitting behind these guys," he said in one of the leaked radios. That seemingly simple phrase said it all. He was a pilot without control, without tools, without confidence in the orders that came to him. He wasn't just frustrated. "I was alone." And while all this was happening, the media, specialized channels, and even fan forums began to build a narrative that Ferrari could not counter. Because the audios were real. They were raw. And they were consistent with each other. The criticism was not isolated. It was systematic. The analysts put it bluntly, it's not an annoying driver. It's a team paralyzed by fear, unable to decide whether to listen to the software or the human being driving at 300 kilometers per hour. The leak of the spokes revealed something that can no longer be hidden. At Ferrari there is no plan. There is improvisation, there is tension, there are contradictions. And when that happens, pilots stop trusting. And when the drivers stop trusting, they stop fighting for the team. They fight to survive. The saddest thing is that this narrative was not born from a hostile press or unfounded rumors. It was born from their own voices, from their own radios. Ferrari is not being attacked from outside. It is being destroyed from within. The Leclerc-Hamilton case after the double abandonment in Brazil and the subsequent leak of the radios is not an isolated incident. It is the most visible symptom of a disease that has been brewing within Maranello for years. A structure that lives trapped between the historical pressure of being Ferrari and the modern inability to act with the precision and agility that today's F1 demands. When a team allows its own drivers, both with championship potential, to feel ignored, unprotected and exposed, it is no longer a matter of lack of speed. This is a failure of leadership. The 3 races remaining on the calendar no longer represent an opportunity to save the championship. They represent an existential test. Can Ferrari contain the emotional collapse? Can it restore the internal link between pilots, engineers, and management? Or are we seeing, in real time, the definitive fall of a project that began the year with promises of redemption and is ending it with echoes of betrayal? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.